Breaking news overnight. President Trump and the First Lady testing positive for COVID-19. Who's at risk and what's next for the government? Straight ahead.
This is News 3 Now this morning.
Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. We want to start right away with breaking news. President Trump and the First Lady have both tested positive for COVID-19.
The president announced his positive test results just before midnight last night on Twitter. He says he and the First Lady will begin their quarantine and recovery process immediately.
30 minutes after the president's announcement, the First Lady shared that she and President Trump are feeling good. She also says that all of her upcoming engagements have been postponed.
Now, the president has not yet said if he plans to cancel any of his upcoming events this coming weekend. The latest copy of his schedule has been completely cleared for today, except for one phone call to discuss COVID-19 support to vulnerable seniors. Before the announcement of his test results, the president had made plans to make 2 stops in Wisconsin tomorrow. President scheduled to be in Janesville tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 before going to Green Bay for another rally.
The White House physician released a statement confirming the president's and First Lady's diagnosis. He writes, quote, "The president and First Lady are both well at this time and they plan to remain at home within the White House during their convalescence. The White House medical team and I will maintain a vigilant watch, and I appreciate the support provided by some of our country's greatest medical professionals and institutions."
We are just getting breaking news here that both of those events have been canceled, both that Janesville area rally and the Green Bay area rally. New information there. We will provide you some updates as we learn more. News of the president testing positive comes just hours after news broke that his counselor, Hope Hicks, had tested positive. We're now learning that she got that positive test result on Wednesday. She first tested negative Wednesday morning. She says she began to feel mild symptoms on her way back to D.C. from the president's rally in Minnesota on Wednesday. An administration official says Hicks was isolated from the president and others on the plane. Hicks was tested a second time Wednesday. Those results came back positive.
This morning, there's new concern for who else may have come in contact with President Trump since he contracted it. The president was in Duluth, Minnesota on Wednesday for a rally that had thousands in attendance. The president also notably shared the stage with former Vice President Joe Biden on Tuesday. And yesterday, the president was in New Jersey for a fundraiser at one of his golf courses. He was not seen wearing a mask.
We are still trying to figure out who all has had close contact with the president, the First Lady, and Hope Hicks over the last 3 days. We know Jared Kushner and Stephen Miller, both senior advisors to the president, were on board Marine One with the president and Hicks. Doctors say at this time, to ensure the continuity of government, it's imperative that everyone on the president's staff takes the necessary precautions.
So the entire staff who traveled with the president this week should be quarantining for 14 days. The president of the United States should be quarantining for 14 days.
We have not heard from Vice President Pence on if he has been tested for the virus. The only comment from him so far is this tweet posted just about an hour after the president's announcement, wishing the president and First Lady a full and swift recovery. Now, while there is no evidence that President Trump is seriously ill at this point, his testing positive does raise questions of what could happen if he becomes incapacitated.
The Constitution's 25th Amendment says a president can declare themselves unable to discharge the powers and duties of the presidency. If the president makes that decision, he would then send a written note to the Senate announcing Vice President Mike Pence as acting president. The VP would act as president until Trump sends another letter to Congress announcing he's able to resume his duties. The vice president and majority of the cabinet or another body established by law could also declare the president unable to fulfill his powers and duties. That motion would also install the vice president as acting president until President Trump provides a written declaration to the contrary.
President Trump is not the first world leader to test positive for the virus. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson tested positive back in March and spent time in intensive care, but ultimately recovered about a month later. He's tweeting his well wishes to the president this morning and hoping for a speedy recovery. The presidents of Brazil, Honduras, Guatemala, Bolivia, and the Dominican have also tested positive and recovered. The Chicago Tribune reports several top officials in India, Iran, and Israel have tested positive as well.
Right now, the stock market is already reacting to the news of the president testing positive. Wall Street futures are plunging. Dow futures fell more than 400 points this morning after President Trump tweeted that he and the First Lady tested positive for COVID. NASDAQ and S&P 500 futures also dropped around 2%. Stock futures started dropping Thursday after top Trump and Hope Hicks tested positive for the virus.
All right, 6:04 your time now. Hattie McLean is keeping an eye on the start to our weekend. Hi, Hattie. Thank you very much. 6:07 now. A recent surge in coronavirus cases is prompting a new emergency order and a new warning from the governor.
The surges we're seeing across the state are not an indication that masks don't work. It underscores what we've said all along, which is that masks only work if everyone wears them. My mask protects me, protects you, and our masks work best when we're wearing them together. Wearing a mask isn't a...
Governor Evers' new order expands the healthcare workforce, making it easier for out-of-state physicians to help frontline workers in Wisconsin. You heard Evers talk about mask wearing right there. He says at the end of the day, whether we're tired of it or not, the longer it takes for everyone to follow those rules and take this seriously, the longer we'll have to live like this.
Dane County has now confirmed more than 10,000 total cases of coronavirus since the start of the pandemic. Roughly 44% of those are from the last month alone.
The hospital capacity in our region has increased by 38% recently. And this week, we have seen 37 people hospitalized for COVID in Dane County, which is a statistically significant increase compared to last week.
While early September saw a large spike in cases, largely due to the UW beginning its in-person fall semester, public health officials said last week that the most recent spike in cases is not tied to the university. Across the state this morning, 20 more people have died from the virus in the last 24 hours. We also set another record with more than 2,900 new cases. You may notice some different colors on this map this morning. We had to adjust the scale to better represent the increasing numbers.
Rock County is seeing some of the highest case increases in the state right now. They had 200 active cases at the beginning of September. A month later, they're now up to 600 active cases. Health officials say that kind of increase over just a few weeks has them looking ahead to a possible influx of hospitalizations.
Right now in Rock County, we are seeing a lot of our hospital beds filling up with COVID patients again. That's when it becomes concerning and alarming.
Janesville has been recognized as one of the biggest COVID hotspots in the country, with hospitals nearing their capacity limits. 6:09 your time now. Coming up, we are just about a month away from the presidential election, how you can make sure your ballot goes to the right place.
And later, the Brewers wrapping up their run in the playoffs. We'll have a recap when we come back.
Welcome back. We have some breaking news into the newsroom within the last 10 minutes here. Flight restrictions on the 2 Wisconsin airports where President Trump is scheduled to speak tomorrow have been canceled. According to the National Business Aviation Association, a presidential notice for 2 hangars in Janesville and Green Bay, where President Trump was scheduled to be tomorrow, has been canceled. A clarification, we don't know if this means the 2 rallies are off for those cities, but we are expecting an update this morning.
6:13 right now. The FBI is offering $10,000 for information about the funeral home shooting in Milwaukee this week. Police say 7 people ages 20 to 48 years old were shot on Wednesday. They were all sent to the hospital for treatment. Police also say the preliminary investigation reveals that an incident occurred as a result of an ongoing feud between 2 groups of people.
Middleton police are launching a new program to help them solve crimes. It's called Scram. The department is encouraging residents who have exterior video surveillance systems to register it. By partnering with the community, police say they will be able to track down evidence faster, since they don't have to go door to door to find people who have cameras.
They're very useful, they're very prevalent, and we want to take advantage of that and kind of reduce our crime, reduce our time looking for them. And, you know, I'm sure citizens are out there wanting to help the police.
The program does not give police access to your camera and is voluntary. Information to register can be found on the department's website.
Amazon and eBay plan to remove items associated with Proud Boys from their websites. The move comes after President Trump was asked to denounce white supremacy and the group. Instead, the president told the group to stand back and stand by during the presidential debate on Tuesday. After the comments, merchandise with the phrase began selling on the sites. Amazon and eBay say Proud Boys related items violate their company's policies that prohibit offensive materials. The Southern Poverty Law Center says Proud Boys is a far-right hate group. According to The Guardian, several law enforcement agencies across the country are also concerned for their potential threat to minority communities. The Colorado Information Analysis Center says the group should be considered a threat and are also concerned for possible attacks to the community who threaten the Proud Boys' beliefs of Caucasian superiority. The CIAC says it's also identified several instances where members of the Proud Boys helped to spread misinformation on the spread of COVID.
The National Guard is setting up a new designated military police that will serve as a rapid reaction force to potential civil unrest. The unit is made up of about 600 troops spread across both Alabama and Arizona. They are ready to be deployed to any state within 24 hours if they're requested by a governor. Guard leaders have purchased more than $200,000 in equipment for this response group. Members have also gone through additional training on proper procedures for dealing with protests. And we are getting an update this morning from the Wisconsin National Guard about the soldiers who flew to California to help battle wildfires. 2 flight teams made up of 15 soldiers and their helicopters left for Sacramento from Madison last month. After their 4-day, 1,700-mile trek there, the Guard says they haven't stopped flying missions. They say they've bounced from fire to fire, helping wherever needed. The Wisconsin Guard is one of the furthest east of the states to respond to California's call for help.
6:16 right now. We want to turn to the forecast. We sent Thank you. We're just a little more than a month away from the election, and state officials want to make sure you know where your ballot is. So far, 1.2 million absentee ballots have been requested, and tens of thousands have already been returned. The state wanted to help people feel more confident in the process, so they upgraded their absentee ballot tracking system online to show every step of the way. Wisconsin's top election official says the hope is that people feel more confident in the process.
They can be reassured that their ballot has been received or is on their way to them. The more they know the expectations and how they fit into that process, and can ensure that their ballot is counted.
For more help on how you can track your ballot, our Jamie Perez walks through the entire process on channel3000.com.
Pfizer says the release of its possible vaccine for coronavirus will not be influenced by politics. This comes just 2 days after the president gave the company a shout out during the debate. The company's CEO says the only pressure it feels is from the billions of people that are depending on their vaccine. The Wall Street Journal reports Pfizer's CEO was disappointed to hear vaccines mentioned during the debate, saying it could make people confused.
Additional COVID-19 cases in the NFL are further postponing games for the Tennessee Titans. The Titans originally set to play the Steelers on Sunday. That game was postponed to later next week, but the league says it will now have to be made up later in the season. This after an additional player and staff member tested positive for the virus. Currently, 11 total members of the organization are positive. The Vikings, who played the Titans last weekend, have not announced any positive cases for them.
The Milwaukee Brewers season is over this morning after losing late last night in Los Angeles. The Brewers were hoping for a win to tie their playoff series against the Dodgers at a game apiece, but they fell 3-0. The Dodgers scored all 3 of their runs in the 5th inning and didn't look back. The Brewers only managed 4 hits on the night. They struck out 13 times against Clayton Kershaw. This was the 3rd year in a row the Brewers made the playoffs, but they've lost in the first round in each of the last 2 years.
What a bummer.
Oh, boy.
I know. There's always next year, I guess. 2020. Let's just blame 2020, right?
Yes, that's the reason the Brewers lost. It's 2020.
All right, 6:20 right now. Still ahead for us on this Friday morning. We're continuing to follow the latest on breaking news.
Yeah, President Trump and the First Lady both testing positive for COVID-19. What this could mean for the upcoming election that's coming up in our next half hour. Stay with us.
Just about 6:24 this morning, our annual Coats for Kids drive underway, and every day we're updating our coat count to show you just how much of a difference you're making.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what we reached yesterday. Big day, folks. We collected almost 500 items. To beat that record we asked you folks to beat yesterday, more than 3,000 coats so far. We have to thank you for that. That's a huge leap. If you haven't donated yet, though, there's plenty of time to do that. The deadline is October 10th.
Where should we set the bar for Monday? 3,500?
3,500, folks. Let's give it a shot.
I think we can do it. You have a little bit more than a week to go through your closet and find those coats, hats, mittens, and anything that your kids aren't using anymore. You can drop them off at any Clinky Cleaners location in the area. Of course, we're going to start distributing those items later this month.
6:24 your time now. If you're looking to book a trip this month, check this out. You can book an Airbnb for hell on earth. It's not too far away either.
Not too far, yeah. And don't worry, it's nothing too scary either. It's just a tiny home in the town of Hell, Michigan. The online rental company calls it the, quote, spookiest Airbnb stay on earth. There's a fire pit, outdoor movie screen for scary movies, and a Gothic sitting area. The self-proclaimed mayor of the unincorporated town, John Cologne, is offering his mayor's lair for 3 nights in October. He says you can be mayor for the day at a cost of $31 plus taxes and fees.
Are you sold?
You got to give it to him for marketing, though.
That's
That is
true.
good. That is
mean,
good.
Very impressive.
Be mayor for $31?
What part of Michigan is hell in?
No idea.
The whole state says
Outside
this
of
Badger
Detroit, I
grad.
guess. Yeah.
Outside of Detroit. Okay. Well, that's not too far away if you want to make the trip.
I don't think so.
Womp.
Why go there when you can be in heaven here in Wisconsin, right?
Exactly,
Look
Josh.
at that heavenly sunrise.
Yeah, we don't have to go
Yes.
anywhere. What a beautiful sunrise this morning.